Gillibrand, no. Hickenlooper, no. Williamson, no. Sestak, no. Steyer, no. Let's see, who else? Bullock, no. Bennett, no. There's lots of no's. Will this be a better debate?
Could be. We're down to about 10. I think they got to winnow it more. Here's the big story, Tom. There's growing anxiety among Democrats that Joe Biden is good for a gaffe a day. If these gaffes continue, and Joe Biden's been doing this for decades, but it will focus attention on whether he's lost a little bit off of his fastball.
Greg Valliere, what I have learned in the summer is a collective memory of America, particularly looking at the war hero Robert Dole of Kansas, is we don't remember how he couldn't campaign nationally. Is Senator Warren the Democrats' Bob Dole?
Could be. If though, Biden does fade a bit more, she or Bernie Sanders could become co-favorites, and that worries Democrats greatly. They think both Warren and Sanders are too polarizing to win a general election.
If that were to happen, Greg, as well, I mean, what would it necessarily mean for the markets looking at the next escalation in the trade war? Because we keep asking whether there'll be any solution before 2020. A lot of people say no, but it doesn't mean anything's going to change with Dems, does it?
I'd say two things for the markets, looking at the Democrats' field. Number one, there's a lot of Democrats, as we talked about earlier, who want tough action against China. Number two, most of the Democrats favor punitive policies against Wall Street to pay for their very expensive agendas. Big taxes on transactions, things like that. I think the markets would look with tremendous apprehension at either Sanders or Elizabeth Warren if it looked like they might become the nominees.
Greg, the other thing that you've been saying at the top of your most recent research is there's no sense of urgency, incredibly, as the bond crisis deepens. What do we need to see on the policy front?
More stimulus. I mean, I'm not sure I'm a Keynesian, or if I believe in the modern monetary theory, but I think this is a time where you need more stimulus. I don't think there's enough.
Yeah, but Greg, come on, we're going into a $1 trillion deficit. I mean, I get the stimulus thing, but at the margin, and this is the critical point, folks, does stimulus sell in Michigan? Does stimulus sell in Wisconsin?
Maybe not. That's a very fair point. But I would argue that this is the time to stimulate more. The economy needs, I mean, if you've got 2% money, as Mohammed Al-Arian said the other day, you've got 2% money, spend some money on infrastructure. This is a good time. Maybe have a 50-year Treasury bond. This is a good time to get a little creative and spend more money.
The silly season starts, Greg. I mean, we're coming out of the summer of our discontent. We're going to launch into the autumn and into the real war of 2020. What should Democrats have learned of how Secretary Clinton campaigned in those important states? What's the lesson that you hear from their operatives?
Well, for Biden, don't take the nomination as an entitlement. You know, take it as something you've got to really fight for. Secondly, Tom, I'd say impeachment is not going to sell. There's no traction with that or the 25th Amendment. Focus on issues that people care about, like health care.
Okay, they care about health care. We learned that in the last election. Do they care about the economy, stupid? Nehra mentions the trade war. I don't buy it for a minute. Is this going to be an election about the culture war? Is it about the culture, stupid?
It's one of two things, and I'm not smart enough to give you the definitive answer. Either, number one, it's about issues, or number two, it's about Trump personally. Trump personally, even among his supporters, they don't like the tweets. They think he's gone too far.
Greg, on your comments on healthcare, I mean, I was reading earlier today that actually healthcare insurer stocks have become a political battleground, in fact, a market proxy for next year's election. Is that something market watchers should take a look at as well, especially if they're looking at individual stocks?
They should, but there's a really key point that gets underappreciated, and that's the Senate, which is the firewall. All this stuff, Green New Deal, big new taxes, it dies at the hands of Mitch McConnell and the Senate. I think the Senate stays Republican in the next election. If it does, even if a Democrat becomes president, his or her agenda would die in the Senate.
How much more erratic might President Trump's behavior become in the next year? Should we just brace ourselves for more headlines day by day, more tweets day by day?
Yeah, you know, for me, it's background noise for the markets. It's irritating. People don't like it. But does it really affect earnings? Does it really affect GDP? No, it doesn't. So I think people just have to learn to filter it out and focus more, in my opinion, on the fundamentals.